go. Welcome to another episode of Unbiased Sports Talk. Okay, I am not the host. I'm just one of the co-hosts, like my guy Mo right there, and my boy James. But my boy James is a guest. You know what I mean? He's coming from his own pod and everything. Mo got a pod too, I think, but he's doing FanDuel stuff. Which we got to link. We got to link up with Mo. Mo got the numbers. Mo got the numbers. We got to everyone hit the like and subscribe button and everything. Shoot your information to Mo and everything. He'll help you with the FanDuel stuff. Mo got some great numbers. Mo is a walking AI guy. Just keep that in mind, James. So when Mo starts talking, walking AI. Anyways, so let's jump right into the situation when it comes to I'll call it the running back drama. All right. And so I want to make sure I ask this question appropriately. Do you feel like running backs are valued appropriately? I'll start with you, James.
Yes and no. All right. So here's why I say no.
Mm-hmm.
They deserve to get paid based on what they're actually doing. Right? Imagine like I come to you and say, all right, look, I know personal trainers were getting like $50 an hour or whatever, but now you're getting 20. You would feel away, right? Here's why I say yes. I looked up some stats in like the first few minutes since I talked to you, Ron. So no Super Bowl winner since has paid their running backs more than $2.5 million. Between 2009 through 2020, the average RB salary of a Super Bowl winner was $1.1 million. Right?
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna keep going. But then I was like, all right, if they're not paying the running backs, who are they paying, right? So then I was like, let me look at the QBs. So since 2010, only 3 Super Bowl winning QBs were on their rookie contract. No QB had over a 13.1 cap hit and won the Super Bowl except Patty, because Patty's Patty. I hate him, but he is who he is. The most Super Bowl winning quarterbacks, their salary cap hit percentage range between 10.6 to 12.3. So that's kind of like the little sweet spot, right? If you want to win a Super Bowl, you're probably not going to have a running back that costs a lot of money. I mean, that's the purpose of most teams, right? Is to win a Super Bowl. Got some other people that just want to make money, but you're trying to win the Super Bowl, right? So you got that part. Then the other part of it is the quarterbacks are running more now. Like you had a few quarterbacks that ran for over 700 yards. That's basically RB2. I mean, you can replace the production of an RB1 with multiple RB2s, and then you're able to allocate that money to the other parts of the team. I don't like that because those dudes deserve to get paid. But there's ways around it, and teams are actually using it. I mean, shit. I'm looking at the percentage salary cap of the Patriots in 2016. The running back was 3.27%. They were paying outside the quarterback. They were paying the outside linebackers. Like, it's random. Yeah. So
all right. Before you get any deeper, because I want to come back to you. Let me ask Mo a question, and this is a platform for him to speak. Mo, do you feel like Saquon Barkley is being undervalued or valued accordingly? Or not valued accordingly, appropriately?
I think he's definitely being undervalued. I mean, when you're the face of a franchise legitimately, like he's been the face since Eli Manning has left. He's on all the NFL commercials. He's on all the fantasy, everything that's related to the NFL that represents the New York Giants. It's 26. It's 26. So he's definitely grossly underpaid. It just sucks that the recent wave of running backs that were the elite, that we could all say were elite, whether it's via production or production and the skill set, have all failed him. They have all failed him. This isn't like the early or the mid 2000s when LaDainian Tomlinson, Adrian Peterson, your Jamal Charles, everybody was working and everybody was hitting, for back what that was considered good money back then, right? And all the horses were firing off and elevating the gameplay. It's a different NFL. But that's what perturbs me about Saquon. Even in this different NFL, Saquon had 91 catches his rookie year.
Mm-hmm.
So he's absolutely a dual threat. There's nothing that I think that even the biggest hater of Saquon would say that he cannot do or flash on the football field. Mm-hmm. And typically running backs get paid that second they get the big money that second contract because they've proven themselves. And I think that, to your point that we've had in previous conversations, he just has seemed to be bitten by this injury thing, right? I think that it's a little bit exaggerated by most people because majority of the games missed was in one season when the ACL went, and it happened in week 3 in Chicago versus the Bears. So he was out for the rest of that year. He came back on time the following year, but to your point, he may have been on the field, but he wasn't Saquon.
Right. But let me also be not against him. Let me be with Saquon. Let's be upfront. A guy like Saquon doesn't fall off trees. You have to put him in the best position, and you have to pay the guy. And to be upfront, I said this last night about a guy like Derrick Henry. I'm gonna say the same thing about Saquon Barkley. Your best player should be the highest paid player on the team. I think Saquon Barkley is the best player on their team. He brings the most impact to the team. Whoever brings the most impact to the team needs to get paid the most. Like, what's going on? Y'all second that? Y'all got something to say?
No, I don't think anybody on this podcast would argue that point. I just think that that's an NBA mindset. That's an NBA mindset. The NBA can do that because the game is built on superstars. In the NFL, the moniker is team first. Play for the name on the front of your jersey, not the one on the back, right? So that's why there's varying levels of scales in terms of pay. We know the easiest way in the NFL not to be good is not to have a quarterback that has been groomed or worked upon or will be. So that's why the value is there. That's why Daniel Jones will get $40 million after throwing 15 touchdowns. Because if it was like Daniel Jones's situation, I feel like if you don't know what's going on with it, it's the perfect storm. It's the perfect storm. But we'll get into that later since we're talking about running backs right now, right? It's just the way that the teams are comprised. We've gone to a more spread out league, so we need more people on the outside because we're paying these quarterbacks more money. Because we know like you said earlier, Saquon doesn't grow on trees, but quarterbacks definitely do not grow on trees, right? I think everybody is in agreement to the top 5, and then once you get to number 7, everybody starts going all over the place, and that's how scarce that position is, and that's why the value is on it. And now with the league being wide open, the hierarchy has changed. The guy that throws the ball is super important. So if the guy that throws the ball is important for the offense, the guy that goes to go sack him is going to be important on the defense. That's why the pass rushers are making so much money. So if the pass rushers are then making so much money, the guy that protects the quarterback is going to have to make so much more money, right? And then because he is important to the quarterback standing up, the quarterback has to get the ball to somebody. So the guy receiving it now becomes the next most important player. Or from your standpoint, as you would always like to point out, the guys that have to defend the guys that catch the ball are super important. So the running back's value has to go down, and it sucks because we're not talking about this for every running back. We're talking about this for the premier running backs, and they're treating the premier running backs like they're RB3. That's the problem. Right. And I see that Raiders cap on over there. So you're dealing with the same problem that I was dealing with a couple of weeks ago.
It's a little bit different.
Yeah, because yours hasn't signed yet. Mine came in.
Outside of that too.
Okay, talk to me.
Talk to us. Yeah, I want to hear this.
All right. So we all I love Josh Jacobs, even though he blocked my pod on Twitter. I don't know why. I root for him. he was at a card show up here in Virginia. I almost went down there, but I was like, I ain't gonna pay 50 just for him to tell me no. Like, all right. So the difference between like Josh Jacobs and all that stuff is the fact that the running back position is you'll get recognized for having all the production, but your pay gets lower because you're deemed like damaged goods.
Yeah.
With all your production, the more production you have, the worse it is for you later, right? That reminds me of the thing with like Melvin Gordon and Eckler, how Melvin Gordon was supposed to get all that money. Eckler, undrafted or late round or whatever, comes in and kills it. And now they're like, you know what? I don't have to pay you. I can just find somebody else easily. Right? It's not easy.
He's a better player, period. Anyway. So.
Yeah, but you can't find them easily, but it's easier than trying to find
a quarterback.
Other QB. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Jacobs didn't have all of the wear and tear on his body even through college because he wasn't even the full-time starter there.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think he played football that much in high school or something like that, where
something weird like
weren't
that.
Always there. Like he doesn't have all that wear and tear on his body, and he's super productive, right? So
he doesn't even have the wear and tear on his body in NFL. He doesn't even have the wear and tear on his body in NFL. That's the thing that perplexes me. They drafted a third down back, Ron, right? Gruden and Mayock. They drafted a third down back from Alabama to make him a 2-down back his first 2 years in the league because they had Rashad and Williams, I believe, right? 33. Washington.
Oh, Richard, yeah.
They had Richard playing on third down, and they had Washington spelling him. So he was literally a 2-down back. And they were wondering why he was only producing roughly around 1,000 yards and whatnot, even though we've seen this immense skill set in school that propelled him to a first-round pick. And then they turned around and they turned down a kid's 5th-year option. So they took that.
Wait, we all understood that though. They were just getting there. He had an off year the previous year. The people were coming in, they were evaluating everybody. So they did the same.
I told Ron the same thing with Daniel Jones. It was the perfect storm. Yeah. It was the perfect storm. Yeah. But not for Josh Jacobs, at least, because there ain't no perfect part about his situation.
I think what has been reported is like they made an offer. It wasn't close to what he really wanted. The money, I think, was around like where he wanted it. It just wasn't the security, right? That's what I've seen people screenshot because I can't look at his fucking tweets. But
so the money was what he wanted, but the security wasn't there. The guarantee,
yeah, like guarantees and all that stuff. Like, so I'm like, okay. I mean, it's a copycat league, so like everybody's looking at like I don't have to pay running backs if I want to win the Super Bowl. Like, I don't need to. And then,
I'm sorry, keep going.
But I mean, if the way your team is structured, right, is to where some of the other premier positions you got people on their rookie deals, then you can splurge on like having like a great running back because all the other pieces that you would have had to pay a lot more for, like you don't have to. So you can allocate that money to other positions, right? To just make your team better as a whole. But I mean, that rarely ever happens. So I don't think Jacobs, he's not going to get paid what he wants. No running back is going to get paid what they want right now. It's not going to happen. I do have 3 different ways I think they could make it work for him, but we'll talk about that later or whenever you're ready, Ron. But
yeah, I want to kind of touch on like the gray area when it comes to the running back position, because I feel like, and we do it all the time in sports, right? Whether we're doing Kobe, LeBron, right? So one guy's black, one guy's white, and a lot of times, depending on who you're talking to, we never really get to the gray area of the conversation, because I think a lot of times, right, where depending on who you're talking to, people feel like it's a disrespect when you start comparing the two. But I'm like, it's a great comparison because both of them are equally great, and both of them have situations that brought them finals and stuff, right? So let's talk about the running back position, right? Because I think also, as I stated before, off air, of course, is the NFL is also a team that's also a company is based off of history. They look at history on how running backs get paid, and it's like in history, it doesn't favor the running back. Majority of running backs, they either get hurt, or majority of running backs, they don't produce. But if you look at it, right, and the person that comes to my mind is Ezekiel, for example, right? He got paid, he got hurt, and he wasn't producing. But at the same time, if you are a football fan, guess who else got hurt? The O-line got hurt. Guess who else got hurt? Dak got hurt.
Prescott got hurt.
Dak Prescott got hurt, right? And guess what that started does too? If you like really know ball, that changes your scheme of how you go about stuff, right? Because when you look at Ezekiel, his first 3 years, he was involved in the pass game, right? And he was making some big carries, yak yards, all that. And then guys start getting hurt and everything. All that switched, right? Now, don't let me get on the offensive coordinator. I'm gonna talk about him another day. But anyways, my overall thing is when we talk about these conversations, I think it's the great thing about pods, right? Great thing about pods is for people like yourself to enlighten us in other areas when it comes to the game, when it comes to the person. That's why I like, especially knowing both of y'all, right? Because I know both of y'all. Both of y'all do y'all due diligence when it comes to information. That's why a lot of times when I come to y'all, I can't really bullshit. And like one thing I learned about Mo is if I don't have discrete proof, don't even bother bringing them to his attention. I said, I'm not gonna bring them to his attention because if I don't have the proof to talk about it, I'm not gonna talk about it. But I think like that's something to look at because look at Jonathan Taylor's situation, right? I want to touch on this a little bit just because right now I'm just catching on tweets. Although he has an injury, kind of find out it was a lie. And he's the one that stated that it was a lie. And I think he's doing the right thing in the sense of standing for himself because, again, he's the best player on the team.
Best skill position.
Or best skill position, right? The only other person I could think of, but at the same time, it's a debate for him also is guys like Darius Leonard, who's also hurt. And then guys like Buckner and everything. But then you still have to ask yourself, how much of an impact is he making in the game? Because most people don't even have Buckner as a top 5 D tackle, nose tackle.
But he is tough. he is tough.
Don't get me wrong.
Default different,
man. I think that's part of the team, like because of the team failures too.
Right. And I was thinking, and I think I will go with that. Jonathan Taylor's the best player because he's the one that's front facing, right? I would say Quentin Nelson is the best. He's the best player at his position for the entire team.
Yeah,
good job.
Like Quentin Nelson's the top 3 guard, regardless of how you look at it. Everybody else is, and when Darius Leonard was healthy, he was, but he hasn't been. So that knocks you down because that's why we play every year. If that was the case, then we would we wouldn't play no more. But Jonathan Taylor's situation, it's a crazy one. You got a kid that came in. Remember, he wasn't the first round draft pick. That's the one difference between him and Saquon and Josh Jacobs. He wasn't a first rounder. So last year would have been the year for him to solidify what he needed to solidify to get big money, right? And with especially being a running back, knowing what was coming down the pike. The situation that's going on now is, I guess there was some attempts to try to get an extension done last year, right? And it wasn't met well. And because there was still a year left on the contract, the team is always going to lean on, oh, you're under contract, right? Because everybody, I guess the owners had already knew what was coming up with this running back franchise. And if I'm an owner like Jim Irsay, I'm going to say you're a second round draft pick. You played the last 4 years for approximately $3 to $4 million. $10 million for one season is double everything you've made for the past 3 or 4 years. That's the pay increase. If I still have any questions, right? If I still have any questions. So that's the leverage that the teams always have. They have this franchise tag that they can apply to you that'll pay you more money than you've ever made, especially if you're coming off a rookie contract, whether you're first round, second round, whatever, because you've never seen that. That's the biggest point of contention that they have. And as fans, we have to sometimes sit back and understand the business, right? You're the second most used player on my team if you're a running back. outside of my quarterback. Outside of my quarterback, most cases. You're the second most used player on my team. The effects of you getting hit every play have shown, like you said, over the course of history, most cannot overcome that. So at the point of your career that I'm going to pay you the most money, you're probably going to start to dwindle.
Right.
It happened to all the greats, your LaDainian Tomlinsons, your Marshall Faulks. You know what I mean? Like we go there, like I'm talking about your historically greats, except for Barry Sanders. He's just different. You know what I mean? He's just different. That's just a whole nother.
He retired early.
You know, yeah,
That's what I'm saying. That's a whole different animal, though.
But he still made it to year 10, averaging 1,500 yards a year. That's insanity. Insanity, right? So we don't have those anymore. The game is a lot faster. I like to think a lot of things like turf, the cleats that they're wearing now, all are assisting in all these paralyzing injuries that we know, like ACLs and Achilles and things like that we're seeing. But it's really just the recent market that's really setting them up for failure. If I want to not be successful as of the last 7 years, pay your running back. It's almost proven. It's almost proven. If they did, like, we're like 2 years away, Ron, from a study coming out on that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So everything is leaning against that. If I pay my quarterback more, my quarterback can run, like James said earlier, because they're running more. To your point yesterday with Daniel Jones rushing for 700 yards, his play seemingly looking like it got better, right? And things like that. Seemingly looking like it got better. Him ranking as a top 15 quarterback is nuts. But I digress, right? So it's just the evolution of football. Football comes in waves. You know what I mean? Football comes in waves, and this is the high flying wave where everybody is trying to copycat what is on top, and that is the big arm quarterback that has some mobility or can really, really move and putting pieces around them. And by the time that quarterback proves it, you got to pay him, right? Because that's the only position that they are still giving money to, whether you are good or not. I think Derek Carr signed for another $150 million this offseason.
Jesus.
Which is beyond me, but
yeah. So
didn't Garoppolo sign for like 100-something million too, right?
Jesus. Anyways, hold on. So we're about to close out. Give me one resolution for the running back situation.
I got three. Like
I know you got three.
James, I don't have one, so you take mine.
All right, cool. So
I got one.
There was three different options that I came up with. People smarter than us, if they like the idea, they probably already thought of it and have, eliminate the franchise tag.
Never going to happen.
I know it's not going to happen, but if you do it, it'll help. Allow players to enter free agency sooner.
This is for the running backs?
Running backs, everybody.
I was rude.
But you would have to eliminate the franchise tag for them to get into free agency sooner.
Well, you could just adjust the franchise tag to say you can't tag them twice.
I think that's the best solution.
I know the owners are dicks. They're not going to let us do it.
They're not going to let. But I don't blame the owners. These guys collectively bargain. They go to this table and they ask and they ask for I'm not even blaming DeMaurice Smith. They ask for stuff like this, Ron. We don't want piss tests. How are you an NFL player? Y'all still don't have lifetime health care, and this franchise tag is not limited to one time.
That was the biggest part. You remember when what was it, concussion, when that came out? That put a whole emphasis on it, and then you got people that sadly take.
Right. I'll take the concussion because I can go home and I can roll up and that's gonna help me for the night. That's what they want.
Right.
I blame the players. And they're the ones that split up the pie too. They're the ones that decided how the pie was going to be split. Everybody, it's easy. And then, like I tell, like Ron said earlier, when you come to me, I want facts because I think a lot of people have lazy prognoses of things, right? They go to surface level stuff that we all know. I studied communications in college. And that's why I always hold Ron's feet to the fire, or anybody I'm arguing's feet to the fire, because like I actually went to school for that stuff. And I may not have used it, but like that's how they taught us that you have to, you know what I mean? That's how they taught us that you have to present stuff, because we have an obligation to the public to make sure information is right. And then I double down on that as a teacher. So I got like, all this integral kind of BS about me. And Ron's like, I don't care about the integral stuff because I've known you since 2006 when we were 18 years old. You know what I mean? So I get it. But but I feel like we have a responsibility to the public. If you're going to put stuff out there, because there's a lot of people that are not avid football watchers like us. So we have to make sure we disseminate the information properly. Like they are failing themselves. They're asking for things that are so minuscule. You're a professional athlete, bro. Be disciplined. Do your drugs in the off season, bro.
Don't do it at all.
I'm not even getting into that. It's 2023. If they making money off it as the government, everybody have at it. But like, let's not prioritize.
Shooting them up with all these other random ass drugs.
Listen, sir. Are we really about to discuss Big Pharma here on this podcast tonight?
No, I'm limited to what I can say.
All right. So let's leave that there. So like, it's a lot of things and nuance, because I got a lot of OGs. Let me not say a lot. I know a couple of OGs that work for the PA that I talk to sometimes. They give me, you chop it up, they start spilling information and things like that. So I get little tidbits, and I be hearing the things that these players be really wanting to advocate for that don't come out. And it's like, that's what y'all really want? That's what y'all really want? Your running back brother over here, who's the best player on the team, can't get a contract to we're not even talking. It's so funny that the running backs are the only position that don't have a market. They just have a number. Everybody else is a market value, right? But the running backs, they just have a number. That's all we're willing to pay y'all. Take it or leave it. That's because of the players. That's because of the players and how they decided to divide up the pie, and they left no money for their friends over there.
One thing is too, what you also said to me more off air is a lot of these players. Sorry, I'm gonna say it. You have a slavery mentality. It's one of those things where you really are like on your own little boat, thinking about your own little shit, and you're not really seeing how what you are doing or what you're not saying is affecting your peers. So going back to the running back situation, though, I think there's one resolution I think that should happen, especially for first round back, second round back. I'm only talking about those guys. I'm only talking about those guys because we already seen in history with running backs, if you got a like a football brain, you know what I mean? As I said, I learned this with Mo, you feel me? Like my mind be so wide open, I'm like, you know what? I need proof to show him, because like I'm a film study dude. Like I'd be like watching film, and I asked Mo a great question because it gave me more of an analysis of how he looks at receivers, right? So I'm gonna go off a little bit of a tangent real quick, right?
All right, hold on. Before you do, is your hand over the mic, or you got some over the microphone? You sound muffled.
I sound muffled?
Yeah.
Am I better now, or is it still fucked up?
Clear.
Go ahead. All right. So most receivers, and I was paying attention to other people's receivers list, right? When they name receivers in the top 5, they're always, that's not always, majority of the time, they're basing it off of the guys' strengths, right? So when I was looking at Devontae Adams' list, and obviously he's the number 1 receiver, so he's going to say it holds a lot of weight, right? I'm like, well, let me list it, right? His list is really based off consistency. So I was like, you know what? Cool. I'm not going to air raid his shit. You feel me? I understand that. Right? Now, if you look at a DB's list, right? The thing about a DB is like me knowing y'all. I know your strength, but I also know your weakness. So as the top 5 go, I go off guys with the less and less weaknesses and stuff, right? Now, granted, I could say something and he'd be like, what the hell you just say and everything? And that's why I learned something with Mo, where it's like, you know what? If I don't have proof, it's not going to really hold no weight. But anyways, what's up?
But Ron, what I was trying to get at with that was, I see why you look at it like that from a sports performance base. You're always looking to correct. So you're like different than the average person watching TV. You're looking at keen, subtle nuances of you're looking at, you're counting steps to the point, you know what I mean? To the point where you're counting steps. Most people cannot ingest football that way. One, they don't have the IQ, they haven't watched it long enough, and they don't have the resources to watch it that way. That's why when these lists come, they look so different than what you're looking for. And I always tell you, we serve the public, right? We serve the public with this podcast and any information that we put out. They're going to go off of what they're hearing mainstream. And that's why a lot of people rely on stats. I don't want to rely on stats because I know I have football knowledge. I know football concepts and whatnot. I will back it up with a stat when it's close. The stat has to be the difference maker because somebody has to win.
Right. You're absolutely right. My problem is I hold that laser so much on shit. I'm like,
I know, because your mind is trained a certain way. You've been a player, you've been dissected, and you dissect other players to help them improve because it's those little things that change the trajectory of your career. And I always understand your perspective, but I'm always like, bro, everybody don't have that pointer. I want that pointer too. Give me that 22 too. I'll find something too. I can find something for anything if you let me have it.
No, you're right. You're right.
But like generally, it comes down to your impact. Your impact is generally like, what can I see on TV, right? I can't see practice footage. I can't see, that third down, you didn't get off the line as quick as you can. But I can see that, you caught that touchdown. I can't see you beat that double coverage majority of the time. And we're always going to say majority and not all because nobody's perfect and there's no perfect football player. And we have to accept it that way. Whatever we see more of, we have to say that that's what you do. And I based a lot of things on consistency, like Devontae's list was. But Devontae also had a caveat in there that most people didn't see. A lot of Devontae's receivers that were in that list were like him.
Yeah.
They were like him outside of Tyreek Hill because you can't deny Tyreek Hill at this point, right?
Right.
So that was an obvious, but everybody else was like him. Everybody, CeeDee Lamb is a carbon copy of him on the rise, on the come up. You know what I mean? It was like, who was the other guy? Stephon Diggs, they're all route runners, like they're all like off the line type guys. They're not speedsters, you know what I mean? So when I saw his list, I was like, this is a bit of a bias to a certain way of playing football because I don't understand how Mike Evans is never in the top 10. And he's the most consistent wide receiver of all time. 9 straight 1,000-yard seasons. The man is practically in the Hall of Fame already. He has 1,100 yards and almost 100 touchdowns.
He is.
But hold on, let me close y'all out so I get y'all for me.
Yes,
so
sir.
I think the resolution for running backs, who's your premier dude, like whether you got him in the first or the second, because a lot of times now if a running back goes, if no running backs go in the first round, but they went in the second round, he's still damn near a first round running back. And depending on your football knowledge and everything, you can look at a guy and be like, yeah, he should have went first round. Anyway,
Brees Hall should have went first round last year.
Right. I think majority of these running backs who's going to be the plan of the team should get front-loaded more money on their rookie contract. Because majority of the players, like a Le'Veon Bell, because Le'Veon Bell hits home. You feel me? He played against my Ravens. You feel me? Him and Jimmy Graham. Yeah, him and Jimmy Graham. A lot of them wanted to get paid for what they already done. But people have to understand contracts, right? Contracts is what you're gonna serve this period right now, right? That's why, I go off a tangent for when we talk about wide receivers and stuff, because I got a really good insight on Odell, and I'm looking at a lot of upset fans when it comes to Odell. But I'm here to tell you, you need to take a real good look at that Georgia offense. You're not going to be happy. Just a heads up. I'm going to be happy, but he's not gonna be happy. But anyways, I think majority of these running backs to get front loaded because like a dude that was punching my mind, something that's off air is Darren McFadden. Darren McFadden came into the league and he was running the Wildcat. You ran the offense that he was doing, so you should have already had front loaded him some money and stuff because you're putting the plan around him.
I think you and James, good. You and James have valid points. James' point that you shouldn't get tagged twice. I think that's valid.
I think
your point of front loading, I haven't heard of that one. I think that's creative. I think that it should be flexible so that they can get paid for what they have done. So if you're not going to pay them secondly, they can also arbitrate. You see, so we got two solutions right there, fellas.
There was a third one. Hold on. There's a third one that kind of goes with what Ron said, but he didn't let me get my point out because he wanted to go on a tangent. Player performance.
Take us home.
Player performance base pay. You guys know that list.
Yeah.
make it applicable for the running backs.
Make it applicable for the first contract. Make it applicable for the first contract. I like that. I think that it should all be incentivized. I said it should be all be incentivized so that you can make more money when you're good. When you're good. So like Zeke coming in, rookie, 1,600 yards, and you lead the league in rushing, there should be an incentive for that.
But
yes, it should.
You know, the other part of it is anytime we come up with a good idea, like for the players to make shit equal, the first thing I'm gonna say, what are we getting in return?
It should be balanced. It should be balanced. It should be fair, because another thing that the team can do, even if it's an incentive, is they can just game plan you out. So you never know if the intent is to help you get where you're truly trying to go, or if it's to save face. So there has to be, that's the only argument against incentives. You know what I mean? Like, and I love it, but it's like, then the head coach, if you ain't on good terms with your head coach, like Josh Jacobs wasn't last year, right? Like before, but last year, I'm talking about 2 seasons ago with the old coach.
Oh, Gruden?
The old coach. I mean, I'm sorry. I forgot the new season that started 2 seasons ago. Then like you end up being in a bind, right? And now they're playing you off of feelings about you. And so there's really no fail-proof way to make this happen is what the problem is. That can, and it's going to come down to what, Ron? It's going to come down to what you can prove.
Yeah, what you can prove.
Because I'm going to come to the table with an arbitrator. Even if I come with an arbitrator, I'm going to say they purposely took me out of the game plan. Like Melvin Gordon got phased out. But he was fumbling, so they can hide behind the fumbles.
But also
behind the fumbles.
But also the thing is with Melvin Gordon, though, too, is I hate to say this, Wisconsin is probably the most interesting
I can't hear you.
Something's happening with the volume.
Yeah.
Now you sound like a chipmunk. But you said something about Wisconsin being the most interesting school for running backs. So I'll talk until you get it together and just chime back in. We know that like Wisconsin over the course of its history has had some great running backs. They put up some great numbers, and they're probably like the 3rd hardest division in college football. So they get a lot of respect for that, right? Especially with the old coach Brett Bielema, or was his name?
Oh, I know you're talking about.
Yeah, so being a cold weather state, it lends itself to playing that brand of football, right? And you back yet, Ron? I want you to finish your point. I was just talking to Clint. So
am I still sound like Alvin?
You're good.
You sound great.
All right, I was like, I don't want nobody getting no jokes. I will go in the comments and go on all under the comments and stuff, and none of these boys can save y'all. I will listen. I will destroy y'all's YouTube pages. But anyways,
I saw Chris Dennis.
Man. Tell us about Wisconsin.
No, I was saying because Wisconsin has a very interesting situation, because if you go look at guys like Monte Ball, if you remember Monte Ball and everything, Monte Ball was putting up dumb numbers, and he came in right after Noshawn Marino.
No, Noshawn went to Georgia.
Yeah, he's
I'm talking about drafted.
Yeah.
Noshawn was first at Denver, then Monte Ball came.
Yes.
So, and like when you look at it, and it's kind of like almost like Texas Tech, because Texas Tech was popping up quarterback, was getting all these crazy numbers at quarterbacks till Pat Mahomes came, and you're sitting back and you're just kind of like wondering to yourself, like, why is this not really translating to the league, right? Because again, my job is to really help out, you see how we could get to the next level and stuff. Because when you look at Marshall Faulk, right? Marshall Faulk was a dude almost like obviously a way better version of Brian Westbrook. He was being involved. As much as you think he wasn't going to get him involved, he was getting involved. You look at LaDaine Thompson, where I think that was the real time we had real fullbacks, like legit, like
Lorenzo Neal.
Yeah, like legit dudes that's gonna make you kind of like go eyeball, like whoa, like he's coming. And then your last thing is guys like AP, right? Your real horses, where it's like, okay, no, that's a real horse. So again, I'm still gonna be stuck on this part about like if this guy is your first round dude, like Bijan Robinson and everything, you pay him this much money, he's already getting a lot of money. I think he's second right now as far as running backs. He's getting
cash value, he's number one.
Then then get him involved.
He's third
then-
string right now.
Huh?
He's third string right now.
Who's third string? Bijan?
Yeah.
That's why they're gonna lose.
James. Come on, James.
They released their
James, come on, dog.
On that note,
Hey, why are people forgetting about Cordell Patterson? That's all.
James.
That's
James,
all.
Cordell Patterson to get cut before Bijan Robinson don't start. Believe that. Okay.
Oh yeah, no, I got you. But as of right now, like they're making him earn his spot. They're making him earn his spot.
All right, Arthur Smith, he'll be fine tomorrow.
No, he's gonna start week 1. I got it.
I'm with you. I'm following. I'm making fun of their third depth chart, whatever that is.
Yeah, that's some bullshit. But on that note, guys,
the Ali Gier dude, like he was a rookie last year, right? And he was killing it.
Right. But hold on, guys. We can talk football all night and everything. That was a great episode. I appreciate all y'all's knowledge. I got AI number 1. I got AI number 2, and I appreciate your booth. Okay. I'm going to holler at y'all. Okay. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe.